Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode 136 today for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Season 8. If you guys did miss the previous episode at the Monaco Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out. That was one of the most chaotic endings I've had to Monaco, and somehow, even though we spanned twice and were facing backwards on the last lap of the Grand Prix into Raskas, we somehow came through with a very amazing 1-2 for the team, with Mick Schumacher getting his first win for the team, his second overall in his career in this career mode save bars. If you remember, he had a spectacular win last season at Singapore, which was a bit of a madness at the time in a Haas car, but yeah, he got his first win for the team, and you know, off the back of a really strong race in Spain, maybe now he's finally got used to the car, and we're actually seeing that 95 rating from Schumacher coming through, because he's now fourth in the championship. We lead the standings though, because I actually only noticed Lando Norris, he had two races in a row not scoring points. Ocon only scored 1 point in Spain and none at Monaco, so that's quite a lot of bad luck and really bad timing for those two. So that's kind of why we catapulted ourselves into the top of the standings. But I still think there's plenty to go in terms of growing with this car. I still think I'm not fully on top of the drivability. Maybe that was a factor of why maybe we would have had a smoother ride around Monaco at the end, even with the tyre wear, if we were a bit more on top of the car. And I still think we need to get to grips with the drivability of the Honda engine. So I saw a few of you guys in the comments below of the last one saying, you know, maybe it looks like we've already got on top of it so quickly. I don't think so. I think it's just a lot of bad luck from the AI we're racing in the championship, Ocon and Norris, that make the standings flatter us basically. And coming into this race weekend, well, you can clearly see we've got the full wet tyres on, the blue wall tyres, because there is going to be rain for this entire race weekend. I'm not too sure if it's going to be raining all race, but it is going to be raining all of Saturday, at least I know, and at least at some point on Sunday. So this is going to be a challenge. Baku, it's already a circuit where you compromise on downforce because there's plenty of straights, but you need that downforce in a street circuit like this. And on top of that, with rain, well, you can clearly see having a difficult time and trying to slow down the car is proving difficult because the brakes just seem to be locking up everywhere, and we actually go wide on the curb and spin around on our second flyer in total in Q1 there. But the first flyer was pretty much a banker lap, wasn't really that great. We went wide at turn 1, wasn't that great. So this was meant to be the kind of quicker lap, and in the end we actually lost all the time anyway before the spin even happened on that left-hander at the end of the sector. And we're just going to come in now because you can see the tyres are absolutely shot. I did have enough fuel to continue for another lap, but I thought because the tyres are so hot there's no point, because I'm going to have to wait to cool them down. So we come in now and then go out straight away for another flyer on a new set of wet tyres, and I thought it was still going to be full wet conditions, but look at the top left, Giotto, Kvyat, Magnus and De Vries all on intermediates, and so it's clearly the crossover period. And even in that corner you may have seen me skating and having to go opposite lock because the full wets simply don't have the grip now, as it's intermediates. There's not enough standing water on the circuit, so we have to come in again straight back in basically. So we did our outlap, and our outlap became an in-lap as we come straight in, and obviously the animations and everything, the mechanics takes a while, so I'm kind of hastily wanting them to hurry up because we don't have a lot of time. There's 2 minutes 20 seconds. We go to the menu, switch on to intermediates, backing out, and then we go to drive out, and we've got a session warning that we can't make the end of the session. The checkered flag's in the fall. Now that's for the automatic, but you can drive out and maybe make it. So here we are, we're going to drive out manually, and this is a race against, well, it's a race anyway against the stop clock anyway in qualifying, but this is a race against the stop clock at the top right. Can we even get to the start finish and make it in time for a new flyer? Yes, we can. Just about, by literally 4 or 5 seconds. If it took a few more seconds for our car to be wheeled in, or a few more seconds for me to change to intermediates and, you know, press the buttons to drive out, I wouldn't have made this flyer. But that's not the end of it. We actually now need to do the business and actually, you know, get the time there. And it's tricky because, like I said, I'm finding it difficult to get to grips with this car with, you know, not too high wings really for what you would want in these kind of conditions, because it is Baku, like I said. You want some straight line speed, and just generally the car just felt difficult to drive. You know, these are my first laps of the race race weekend around Baku, and they're in the wet, kind of thrown into the deep end. But thankfully, the intermediates just had such a massive difference compared to the wet tyres with how the track dried out that we're able to get him through into Q2, top of this session. So in the end, all of that slight panic is put to rest. We do make it through into the second part of qualifying. The same can't be said, though, for some big hitters. Carlos Sainz in the Red Bull and Pierre Gasly in the Mercedes. Both, you know, especially Red Bull looking quick. Obviously, Lando in the, in the championship fight as it stands early doors here in the top 3 standings. So Sainz being out is a big deal. And even the Mercedes guys, they've looked somewhat quick, although they haven't definitely not looked as quick as they have done in previous seasons. And speaking about not looking quick, well, we enter Q2, and you can clearly see I am really not liking this circuit with rain, with this specific car, with the Honda engine in this season. I don't know what it is. This car felt so difficult to drive. Like I was tapping the brake pedal and it was locking up straight away. Obviously, usually, sometimes when I boot up the game, it takes a little bit of time. I need to stamp on my brake pedal, and then it gets calibrated a bit, and, then I can brake with confidence. Or, sometimes in the rain, I just need to gauge how hard I need to be pressing the pedal, and, I figure it out. But this time round, I don't know what was going on. I was locking up all over the shop, no matter how lightly I was tapping it. And then even on the corner exits and entries, just going a little bit too deep, understeering, oversteering. It was a difficult car to handle. We're gaining 1.3 seconds in the first sector alone on the second flying lap here, just because that first flyer in Q2 was so poor. But we're going to catch up to some traffic here. Magnussen, he's going very slow, and this is going to be a little bit painful if he doesn't get out of the way. And annoyingly, this is also at literally the worst point in the circuit we're meeting him at the Baku Castle section. He's already set his lap, so he's on an in-lap, I think, to coming into the pit lane. So he's going very slow. We're catching him at a rate of knots, 1.4 up here, but Magnussen parks it in the corner, in the right and the left, then gets out of the way. And the Haas has lost just about a good 4 tenths there. We're down to 9 tenths gain, so we lost, a good 4 to 5 tenths in the subsequent corner, basically, and that's straight as well, having to lift off to get round him. And then a little bit skatish on the rear end as the rear stepped out, having to go kind of an opposite lock through a right-hander, which is usually flat out on the drive. We come to the line. It's going to be still 9 tenths gained, but we are on the edge. We're 9th place there. We go to the loading screen, and we're out. We're out in P11 as other cars were on their laps. And obviously, you guys know when the game loads in from the session into the actual race results, or session results, I should say, sometimes the AI can gain some extra time there, all of them really. And we were already in P9, so fair play. We were cutting it fine anyway, but that is, well, it's not even that close, to be fair, in terms of the lap times, but it's close in terms of it's just one off the top 10. Usually, I would say, okay, maybe opens us up for strategy play, but it is going to be raining tomorrow, I think, for most of the race, at least at the start, I think. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle from P11, wet race. This is going to be a difficult one. Schumacher's through, though, P5. He's gained a lot of confidence in the last 2 races. Let's see. Let's go to the grid and see what he could do in that Q3 session and where he lines up for the race tomorrow.
And a warm welcome to you from Azadlik Square, heart of Baku and home, of course, to the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. With high speeds, tight corners and few runoff zones, many are expecting a safety car here today, so our drivers will have to stay very much on their toes and hopefully away from the barriers. It's 3.7 miles around a lap of Baku City Circuit then, with 7 rights and 13 lefts, giving us a total of 20 corners. Watch out for the safety car today. Incidents are already common on this circuit, and the wet conditions will only make things worse, particularly through the incredibly narrow turn 8. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Let's start with Racing Point. We have a number of changes to the aerodynamic regulations this year, and the sides haven't looked good for them so far in terms of getting to grips with those changes.
It doesn't look promising for them so far. And if the new regs have hit them as hard as we think, well, I suspect they may need a few late nights at the factory to get back on track.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Mick Schumacher lines up on pole position, and it's Esteban Ocon in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Verstappen, Albon, Charles Leclerc and Stroll, Norris, Hamilton, Giovinazzi and George Russell. The owner driver, Matsushita, Daniel Kvyat and Magnussen, Giotto, Joe, Nicholas Latifi and Pierre Gasly, Sainz, Aitken, Bottas and Nick de Vries. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
So it looks like Mick Schumacher really has grown into this car. Pole position in Q3. I assume it was wet as well. Ocon in second. So two of our championship rivals, yeah, because Schumacher's in the mix now, really. Let's admit it, in the standings, and he's pretty close. But Ocon there on the front row. Lando not too great in Q3, so that's at least one thing. He's only just 2 places ahead, so we have a good enough start. We could maybe jump the Red Bull car at least. So that's at least some sort of consolation after that Q2 exit, but you can see it's going to be raining all race, intermediates all race, so this is not going to be easy. And to be honest, I would have preferred actually full wet, because on this game, on F1 2020 at least, the intermediates actually feel a lot worse than the full wet a lot of the time. That kind of, you know, those constant lockups and twitchy rear ends and understeer, it kind of all happens a bit more in the intermediate conditions, so I would have actually rather have it been full wet conditions. So this is going to be challenging, but, you know, that's what it's all about, obviously. So we've got 26 laps ahead of us. Let's see what we can do from P11 on the grid. As we now go to 5 red lights. It's very doom and gloom here in Azerbaijan. Let's hope we can be the sunshine coming through from P11 on the grid. Lights are out, and we're on the way. And it's actually a really good getaway versus the Ferrari. Giovinazzi really bogged down there. It's 3 abreast as we go around the outside of Gio, and Hamilton in the McLaren there, as Russell gets Hamilton as well now for Romeo. So a great start from myself and Russell. And Norris, like I said, is just ahead of us then in the Red Bull car. So one of our rivals is there for the taking maybe, but you can see there's a monumental amount of spray coming off these cars. So it may be intermediates, but it's on the fine edge maybe as we nearly go in the back of Lando. We tap him on the rear end there as there was a bit of a domino effect, and yellow flags behind, and it's Luca Giotto in the Williams. He is out once again. I think he had an early exit at Monaco as well, and so the full core safety car is out for the second time in a row from Monaco to Azerbaijan. It's a lap 1 safety car, and so here we are then on the end of lap number 3 as we go green, and we're racing once again, and this time going to take it a little bit easy into turn 1, not trying to hit the back of Lando and do the same thing we did on lap 1, sector 1, because that was very hairy. We made some contact with him on the rear end, but it was, you know, it was a lucky escape, to be honest, because I just didn't see the closing speed, because it was very hard to judge. It's really hard to judge with this amount of spray, really. That's the difficult thing of these kind of conditions where it's intermediates, but it's clearly a little bit wetter than inters maybe, and that's also not going to help the car control as well. Kind of like almost what we had in Japan, but a little bit less so from season 7 when it was clearly time for a red flag. This one not so much. It's just about bearable, but you can see I'm struggling quite a fair amount as Russell is attacking us, and Norris and the rest of the pack have walked away, and we're soaring away at the steering wheel, just trying to keep the car in a straight line through some of these corners. And whilst I'm struggling, Schumacher is going to go and set a fast lap of the Grand Prix and is leading this race till lap number 4, as we're now in a drag race with the Ferrari and the Alfa Romeo. Both Russell and Giovinazzi trying their best to overtake me. Russell round the outside. Can we defend against him in the exit? Turn 1, the rear end just stepping out. We just can't get the grip, and the Alfa Romeo is past, and Russell is looking pretty handy in that red and white car. Obviously got a great podium, only 2 races to go at the Spanish Grand Prix, and is doing pretty decently. And he actually goes and sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix onto lap number 6. That's insane. But look at the minimap. Schumacher has got an early lead. But what's this now? We've got a bit of a slow pack forming here. The 2 racing points ahead of Norris. So I think the 2 racing points are struggling maybe a little bit, and they're backing everyone up basically. And so myself and Russell have joined the party, as well as Giovinazzi and Hamilton, not too far behind. Very nose to tail at the moment, trying my best to suss out any kind of place I can make a move. Russell goes a little bit defensive. Can we try and make a move around the outside, I wonder, into the next right-hander? It's a very unorthodox place to make an overtake, but here we go on the outside. It's very close as the rear end squirms once again, and we just can't get the traction on that Alfa Romeo. It seems like the Alfa's got some really decent grip on the rear end there. Downforce wise, you can tell that I've got more downforce, able to brake a little bit later and go around the outside, but in a straight line and acceleration wise, that Alfa is really good. But very quickly we go from attacking George Russell to looking behind us as we lock up in that same part of the circuit, nearly going the wall, and it's a very easy overtake for Giovinazzi as we make another error. It's another lock up like we had in qualifying, and we're actually really close to the wall there as well through the castle section. So Giovinazzi is overtaken us. We're in a sandwich between him and Hamilton up the road. It's a virtual safety car actually, because Verstappen has no front wing. What has gone on there? Here's a replay. It's a very annoying nose cam, so it doesn't really give us too much detail, but it looks like Verstappen's just understeered and maybe locked up himself. We couldn't see the tyre, so I don't know. I assume he may be locked up. And so he made the same sort of mistake I did. So good to know other people are having issues with their brakes and stopping the car. And very much so for Verstappen had issue, because he broke his front wing, as well as he broke the front wing of Lance Stroll, who was right behind him. So on the restart of the virtual safety car, Hamilton, look how aggressive he is. We go defensive to the inside, but Lewis Hamilton on the outside of the McLaren, and we just about defend and get the elbow out. But he was so aggressive. Like, I've never seen an AI move that quickly to the inside. But meanwhile, at the forefront of this race, Mick Schumacher leads the way from Leclerc. Then you've got Esteban Ocon in the McLaren. So Ocon with a slow start from the front row. Leclerc's into second place. Then because of Verstappen and Stroll being out of this, you've got Lando up next. And oh, yellow flags. Oh, that's Russell in the wall. Russell's in the wall. He went too wide. I think he got the rear end stepped out, which you can do in this very corner. We've seen it so many times before in career modes. I've even lost it here before, where the rear end steps because you either hit the curb on the inside or you just take a bit too much speed. In these wet conditions, it can definitely happen. And he's out then. Safety car is out as well. So we've had two safety cars here at Baku as well as Monaco. And we decided not to come in. It was quite a late call if we came in, because we were literally right at the pit entry. But we've not come in for a pit stop under the safety car. Schumacher, Ocon and Leclerc haven't either. And also, you look at the mini-map there and the ladder on the left. Leclerc has actually got into the lead. He overtook Schumacher, I think, as the safety car came out. Norris did pit, and he's only in P6. He's not dropped down the order. So maybe this potentially might be a mistake by about 5-6 of us here. Not coming in, because Norris in P6, he's already made that first pit stop then. He's right there. So I think the top 5, all of us, I think we may have made a misjudgment there, potentially. Yellow flags off the restart behind us, so I wonder what's going on there. But we're a little bit deep into the next corner. He almost put it in the wall, and Hamilton is through on the inside. And we're just struggling to get the power down, even in 6th gear. Is that potentially the tyre wear, or maybe just cold tyres off the restart, as Lando gets very close to the wall and my front left tyre, and he's going all over the shop there. Norris has got no control of his car into the next corner, and he puts us in the wall. And then look at what is going on here, as Lando is drifting everywhere, and we have to take avoiding action from him, and that actually puts us at risk and has put us down the order by 2 places, because we then lock up. We've lost all composure here. We've lost all the marbles. I don't even know what just happened. Lando looked so good to overtake us. Then he just lost grit, because he did so well to get us initially. But then he just started drifting ahead of us. Basically brake checked us into the next right-hander. And then we lost ground to Magnussen and Bottas. Even got dive bombed there by Verstappen for a second, who obviously went down the order with that broken front ring in the castle section. He's now coming back at us, as now we've got Schumacher, Leclerc and those guys coming in. And we've locked up into turn 1, and Verstappen has done us with a switchback move to the left-hand side. Kvyat in the Alpines now diving down the inside. I don't think we've got any grip left of these tyres, it looks like. I mean, I thought we were going to lap, 17 potentially for the one stop, but looks like the tyres have gone away a lot quicker than we were maybe thinking. And so now it's a genius tactic from Lando and others to pit under the safety car. Obviously was a consideration for me, but it's such a late call, because I was right there by the pit entry when the safety car came out. And by the time you've gone past that pit entry, there's no point then pitting under the safety car, because you're going to lose a lot more positions in terms of track position than you would not pitting. But I don't know, there's a lot of different variables of which way it could have gone. But at the moment, yeah, looking like not a great strategy. But it was just so chaotic. I don't even know. I'm still trying to process what happened there with Lando, because he looked so good, but then also lost the rear end so much. And oh, speaking about losing the rear end, Verstappen has spun it to that same corner. Russell put it in the wall. Verstappen's still in the race, but he completely had a massive tank slapper, went side on into the wall, much like he did at Canada in Season 7, if you remember, and he's lost his front wing for the second time in this race. So it is all completely kicking off here now in the middle of this race. I don't even know what the order's looking like, but down the order are both, Leclerc, Schumacher's there we're in P17. We're in P7, we're now in P15. We are so far off the top now. I don't know how this race has gone away for so many of us. Leclerc and Schumacher were fighting for the lead, and now Schumacher's pitting again. Is he doing a two-stop? This race has been so confusing. It's entirely because of the rain. It really has thrown a complete spanner in the works for all of us. Giovinazzi has auto pit, and he's come out ahead of us. So he's jumped us there, having made a whole extra pit stop as we now try and just defend against Hamilton. We're up into P9 now. We're going to continue on because I assume we're trying to do the one stop, aren't we? Because isn't that the whole, plan here is a one stop with intermediates is possible around here. Baku, but no, we lose the back end. And oh my goodness me, how have we not put that in the wall? How do we not have any massive damage from that? That is going to be the save of the season so far. That is unbelievable. So maybe we're feeling some tyre wear, I can't lie, from that spin. But that corner is just horrendous with this car in these conditions. Every lap I'm having to lift off there and, basically drifting through. And now it's another double lockup. This car just doesn't have any grip on the front end when we're under braking. The brakes just feel like milk bottle tops right now. You just tap them and they lock up. But I don't even think there's that much tyre wear. I honestly don't think this is meant to be a two-stop race. And we've only got 6 laps. Is there any point of pitting now as Stroll comes down the inside? We may as well try and long this out and go to the end with only 6 laps to go. And the Inters should go that distance. We only pit on lap, 14, 15. We've only been on these tyres for 5 laps. It's not time to come in. So I don't know why Schumacher and Leclerc did, but we've got issues in terms of Stroll coming at us. And even if we don't have tyre wear, this car just feels a bit broken right now. It just feels odd. I've got no confidence on the braking, and then even on the rear end, it's not planted at all. I know it wouldn't be in the wets, but there's literally no car control I've got of it basically, and we're so slow into all these corners. And okay, maybe this is why we're having issues now. We've got a yellow or slightly lime green front right of our front wing, so that must have been from that save. So I thought we got away with the save of our lives, but clearly our front wing tapped the wall when we had that half spin. So that is the damage I've got from that little one. So we haven't come out unscathed. So unfortunately now I'm limping home. 5 laps to go with a bit of a broken front wing. It's not completely broken because that's lime green. It's drivable, but it's not ideal. And we're being absolutely swarmed now on lap 21 onto 22 by both Stroll and Latifi. This is either side of me. 3-1 into turn 1. This isn't going to end well. Oh my God, guys. What are we doing here? What are we doing? We've just been pinched in by both of them. And if we didn't have a yellow front wing now, I'm pretty sure we do now after that, because we've now nearly been half spun by Verstappen. There's no driver etiquette in this race whatsoever. Verstappen just dive bombed us and nearly half span us. Leclerc goes for a move. Schumacher and all that overtook us, so they're both ahead of us now. And now Leclerc and Verstappen going side by side. We're down to P14. We were P8 only like a minute ago. I swear, I actually just can't keep up with this race. I actually can't. But as it stands, we're P14 with now, I'm pretty sure, a yellow front wing on the front right after that pinch movement into turn 1. And we're just going backwards. There's no way we can go up. And now our engineers say, let's pit in, let's fix the damage. Meanwhile, it's all calm in Lando Norris's world. The decision to pit under the safety car has been a blinder, as well as Giovinazzi, because both him and Lando have jumped up the order. So it's Lando that leads this race. Giovinazzi in second. In third place is, I think that's Lewis Hamilton, the McLaren that is. Then you've got Bottas, you've got a Stroll, I think that is, or Albon, sorry, in the Racing Point car. Then you've got a Haas in the points there. A little bit further back, this is the tail end, P9 and P10, Schumacher v Leclerc, and they're both closing up to the other Racing Point of Stroll. So those guys are all fighting fighting for P10 to P8. So, yeah, the race kind of got flipped on its head. You had Giovinazzi and kind of Lando down the order in the bottom half of the top 10, but now they're in the top half. Same for Hamilton as well. And you've got Schumacher and Leclerc that were fighting for P1 and 2 earlier on in the race. They're now fighting for P9 and P10, and we're just trolling around at the back. Like, we're just doing nothing because we made our pit stop here. I didn't bother showing you it because there's no point. We pit from P14 and went down to P18. May as well show you this replay camera where we're watching Leclerc overtake Stroll for, I think this is P8, and you saw Stroll lost the back end there in the same place I did, the same place Verstappen did. So you can see it's not just me, there's many AI throughout this entire race that have lost the back end of that corner. Russell obviously just understeered into the wall. There's, yeah, just no grip out here for many drivers, and for us, well, it's been a race to forget. It really has. And if there were any kind of doubts that we're still not kind of used to the car and the drivability is still a bit piss poor and we're still getting used to it, well, this is the confirmation. You know, I think a few of you thought, oh, we're into the lead of the championship after Monaco, a 1-2 for the team, leading the championship in constructors. It's now time for us to start steamrolling, and it's going to be me v Schumacher. I don't think so. I genuinely still know that we have a lot to go, because this Honda-powered car in Season 8, this final one, it's still very nervy, twitchy, and in the rain, well, at least here at Baku, I had no composure, no skill, and it's a dismal race. A very difficult one to swallow, but you have those races sometimes. Let's just move on.
It's never an easy race here in Azerbaijan. There's drama around every corner, but they've come through to take a brilliant win here today. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
Well, keeping their tyre temperatures up in the tricky wet conditions was really important. There's not much grip out there at the best of times, and it's 10 times worse if you're out there on cold tyres. So the way they kept the rubber in its proper operating window was a huge advantage today.
The drivers are en route to the podium as we speak. What a fantastic win for the Red Bull team. They performed exceptionally today, keeping us firmly on the edge of our seats throughout the entirety of the race. Congratulations to everyone at the team.
So Lando Norris gets his second win of this season, and the second for his new Red Bull team. Obviously this season, Giovinazzi in second place. The lead Ferrari, surprised obviously, because Leclerc was fighting Schumacher for the lead. And a Hamilton with a very under-the-radar third place. Don't even know where he was for most of that race, really. At one point, he was behind us, but he just jumped up the order into P3, so a very nice podium for him. And it means in the standings, Lando now leads the way, 4 points ahead of us, and then a further 5 to Ocon, so it is very close in the standings. And Albon, you know, even he's under. Where's he come from? Actually, Albon is in P4 in the championship. I don't even feel like Racing Point have done that well this season. Stroll's not in the top 14 of the standings, but Albon doing bits for Racing Point, trying to drag them up the order, and is ahead of Schumacher right now. So kudos to him. Actually, very underrated there, I feel. And Leclerc remains in P6. Then Giovinazzi joins him close behind in P7. So it's actually really, really close. Especially in that kind of just behind the top 3, Albon to Giovinazzi. Yeah, there's a lot of points there. There's a lot of positions up for grabs, and it's still, you know, early days. We're only now, what, a quarter into the season now, or just about. So, you know, there's still a long way to go, a lot of different races to go, but this one, let's just forget about it. If you guys did enjoy the chaos, though, because there was that for sure here around Baku, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.